Good afternoon and welcome. I'm CJ Epps, Director of the Office of External Affairs and Communications here at the Economic Development Administration. The purpose of today's webinar is to share information with you about EDA's technology. The purpose of today's webinar is to share information with you about EDA's Regional Technology and Innovation Hubs, also known as Tech Hubs, Phase 1 Notice of Funding Opportunity, which was released on May 12th, 2023, and will close in just a few weeks on August 15th. Before we begin, we'll have a brief intro video from our Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Economic Development, Alejandra Castillo.
Hello and welcome to the U.S. Department of Commerce. I am Assistant Secretary Alejandra Castillo, and it is my honor to oversee the U.S. Economic Development Administration. We are the only federal agency solely tasked with economic development to ensure we have the most dynamic, competitive, innovative, and equitable economy that works for all Americans. Congress recently enacted a new authority for EDA to do just that, Tech Hubs. These Tech Hubs are all about democratizing innovation and technology, enabling regions all across the U.S. to become global leaders in the industries of the future. Everything from advanced computing and data centers, green and clean energy alternative plants and power nodes, smart infrastructure, and much more could be built from the ground up in regions like yours, catalyzing strong collaboration to turn new ideas into equitable economic growth. And every tech hub built is so much more than just tech industries. It facilitates the growth in the region that will support more small businesses, restaurants, roads, and everything needed to make economies run. Programs like Tech Hubs build off EDA's success in implementing transformative American Rescue Plan programs. During ARPA, we oversaw the investments of $3 billion across nearly 800 projects, resulting in more than 200,000 jobs secured across the nation. I cannot wait to see the kind of opportunities, innovation, and especially jobs that our Tech Hubs investments will create. At EDA, our approach is always place-based, meaning a methodical, regional-specific approach, because no one knows how to better achieve the goals of a community than the people like you who are already there doing the hard work of supporting growth. I'm excited to see applications come in from across America that reflects the unique, innovative spirit of all of our states, communities, and tribal nations. This approach also allows us to focus on our number one investment priority at EDA, equity. In the webinar ahead, you will hear from our program leaders about how best to prepare successful responses to our Notice of Funding Opportunities, or NOFO. Listen carefully to their guidance and best practices, and please reach out to our team if you have any questions. You can find contact information and the latest resources at eda.gov. I wish you the best in your work ahead responding to this and future NOFOs. It is you, working in your communities to make them stronger every day, that are helping us at EDA keep investing in America. Thank you.
All right, so before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping notes. The slides that will be shown today will be on our website, eda.gov and techhubs.gov. Currently on our website are frequently asked questions as well as a fact sheet, which includes additional information about the program, including eligibility. We will not take live questions. We do have a lot of ground to cover, which is reflective of the questions that we've received from several folks since the NOFO opened. But if you do have questions, please put them in the chat and we will do our best to address your questions. If after today's webinar you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to the team directly at techhubs@eda.gov. I will now turn it over to our Tech Hubs Program Director, Eric Smith. Eric?
Hey, CJ. Thanks so much, and thanks to you all for being here with us today, and really appreciate and I'm excited about all the interest in the program. We're going to run through a handful of slides with a little bit of a program overview, refresh, a little bit of focus on some particular FAQs that have gotten a lot of attention, and then a colleague of mine will go through some of our EDGE processes. So that's our grants application system that you all will be interacting with in order to submit your applications. So first of all, we'll focus on three things that you should do right now. One of those right in the middle, you're doing this already, attending the webinar. So thanks for doing that. Registering for EDGE, also very important to do that early. We'll demonstrate bits of that in today's webinar, but lots of assistance on the website at techhubs.gov. And also on the EDGE website itself in that portal to help you with registering yourselves and your consortium members. And then also we've been diligently updating the frequently asked questions as we've gotten inputs and questions from you all. So we'll discuss a few of those specific ones, but really encourage you to take a look at that whole FAQ page as well, also accessible via techhubs.gov. To kick things off in the program overview, like to start with the vision. So again, strengthening economic and national security here in the United States by making sure the industries of the future start, grow, and remain here in the United States, and not just in the U.S., but all throughout and in regions all throughout the United States. You're probably well familiar with the program structure at this point, but worth highlighting the deadline for phase one, again, as CJ mentioned, is August 15th. So make sure you get your applications in by August 15th. In this phase one notice of funding opportunity, you can apply for designation. That's the key to being able to apply to phase two. You can also apply for strategy development grants, which we'll get into a little bit later in the overview. Phase two, we expect to publish that NOFO this fall, and that's where we'll make the implementation grants to approximately 5 to 10 of the designated tech hubs, approximately 50 to 75 million total per hub. Quickly on the geography side, so again, a minimum of 20 tech hubs will designate. We have this framework for geographic designation, 3 in each of EDA's 6 regions, at least a third of the total portfolio, significantly benefiting small and rural populations, et cetera. You can see that list here in abbreviated form and also in the notice of funding opportunity. This is really the framework where we'll be able to select a geographically diverse array of designated tech hubs. Very quickly, again, for those of you who have worked with EDA before, this is a new program, a new statutory authority. So that means some things will be similar to what you've seen in the past. Some things will be different. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at the NOFO, as you're asking questions and developing your applications. And just from a timing perspective, this was originated as part of the CHIPS and Science Act. We were appropriated $500 million for the $10 billion program back in December of 22. We did publish an RFI and got a lot of responses, 300 responses from folks that have been really helpful. And then you can see where we are right now in the phase one application process. And again, we've got $500 million to deploy right now. That's what we'll be deploying through phase one and phase two. The bulk of that through phase two. The authorization, though, is $10 billion. I'll hit this again in the FAQs, but want to make sure that this is particularly clear. You have to form a consortium in order to be eligible, and your consortium must include these 5 specific organizational types here on the left. So your consortium will have 5 members at least, and one of each of these 5 categories. So Institute of Higher Ed, state, local, other subnational or tribal government, relevant industry or firm. So this is the private sector, economic development organizations or similar organizations, labor or workforce training organizations. Those are the required members. So again, you're going to have at least 5 different organizations in your consortium. You may have many more. You can see the list in the middle, and it includes a number of optional members. So you can have multiple of any of these members there, as long as you've got those 5 minimum on the left. I will say strong alignment, make sure you've got a shared vision, make sure those partnerships are high quality. It's not about the number of support letters, it's really about the quality of those relationships and the collaboration. I'll also note that we're encouraging the participation of 2 or more private sector firms in each consortium, and also the participation of a labor organization. And you have to identify a lead member, and there has to be a clear plan to identify, or you have to have already identified your regional innovation officer, who's really going to be accountable for leading this governance of the consortium and coalition. I'll also highlight again regional nexus. So this is a place-based program, as Alejandro mentioned in the video. It really is focused on the region itself. So we're looking for regions that have identified and interconnected innovation assets and resources that are relevant to your technology focus. So you should identify that chosen geography. It doesn't have to be exactly this, but think kind of metropolitan or micropolitan statistical area, or a combination of those, or a similar area. That's kind of the scale of region that we're pointing toward. However you define that region, though, it's really about the interconnectedness of the assets, capital, R&D, workforce, infrastructure, how all those things are interconnected, how they interface with each other, and how they support each other. And that ecosystem's economic growth that's centered on this particular technology area. And you can include things that are outside that area, but you really got to be very clear about that collaborative, interconnected partnership, and why that remote asset, or that asset that's outside the hub, is critical. On the application structure side, again, I mentioned this up front, you can apply for one or both of designation or strategy development grants. On the designation side, this is really about your case for designation. What are those innovation assets, resources? What is your potential to become globally competitive, or more globally competitive in that particular technology area in the next decade? On the strategy development grant side, this is really about how a small amount of flexible funding, roughly $500,000, how you could use that to really strengthen the collaboration within your consortium, within your region, to make sure that you are, in fact, you do have that shared vision, and that you do have a structure to continue to pursue that shared vision collaboratively. On the evaluation criteria, designation and strategy development are different things with different objectives, so different evaluation criteria. On the strategy development front, it's really about it's 3 evaluation criteria, really about, will this funding have a high likelihood of making your consortium stronger? All the criteria get to that in one way or the other. On the designation side, 7 criteria that are more specific about the particulars of your hub and the case for designation that you present. So how are you going to become competitive in that technology? How are you incorporating the private sector? What's their role? What are their commitments? Overall, how's your region coordinating? What are those partnerships like? How strong and durable are they? Equity and diversity, making sure that this innovation economy and the benefits that arise from it really inure to a really inclusive set of the population and of the communities in your region, making sure that this is equitable economic growth that we're pursuing. Ensuring that your workforce now is aligned with the particular needs of that technology and industry, and that there is the ability and capacity for that workforce to evolve in the future. Making sure that different institutions in the regions are committed from a policy perspective, so not just that they're participating, but also willing to kind of change how they work and change how they interact in order to best facilitate commercialization. And ultimately, of course, the likelihood of impact on the economic national security of the entire United States by pursuing a globally competitive position with this particular technology. On the technology front, there are 10 key technology focus areas set out in the statute that we've also referenced in NOFO. These are very broad and very inclusive across most technology domains, if not all technology domains, that we're really focused on innovation here. And I think in the sense of that breadth and making sure that there is sort of focus and coherence. We've kind of given some guidance. These are illustrative examples, not exclusive by any means, but picking that core technology area. How are you selecting that focus as a hub? Maybe it's at the intersection of two or more of those particular focus areas. Maybe it's just a subset strictly of one of them. I'm going to now transition to running through a few selected FAQs. We've gotten a lot of interest. That list of FAQs has grown thanks to your engagement and to the questions that you've sent into our techhubs@eda.gov inbox. And thank you as well to the team for managing that and making sure that you all are getting those responses. So I'll go through some of those, and then we'll move into a demonstration of some of the real key functionality of Edge, our grants and program management system via which you'll submit your applications. First one of these that I'll hit again very briefly because we just talked about it. What entities are eligible to apply for these grants? Consortia. So you need to form that consortium. You don't have to have a separate legal entity, but you do need to make sure that you've got those a minimum of 5 entities, one of each of the 5 required members types. So make sure that you've got that structure. And a corollary to that, and a little bit of a teaser for what my colleague will talk to you about in a bit, do those consortium members have to create an account in Edge? Yes. So there's a mechanism to do that for the lead applicant to invite other consortium members to register and get into Edge. So yes, they do need to do that as well. We'll go through some of that. There are also lots of resources on the website and at the Edge platform portal, which is linked directly from techhubs.gov. Another question that got a lot of attention is the level of technical detail that you need to provide in phase 1 in making your case for becoming globally competitive in that technology area. Phase 1 is really intended is an opportunity for you all to make that case for designation, to really talk about the assets, resource, capacity, potential that you have for that global competitiveness. It's not meant to go deep dive into technical detail in the particular technologies. Think about it as a pretty high level. What are those capabilities? What are the gaps? How could this funding be but for in developing that innovations economy? I'll highlight this FAQ around how this differs from some of the other federal grant competitions going on right now that involve hubs or hub-like structures. I think a big question we get in particular is with respect to NSF's Innovation Engines program. And I think the thing that I'd really highlight here is that the Tech Hubs program is focused on commercialization, focused on making sure that technology products and services are making it to the market, that there are jobs being created, that the economy is growing around that. So not focused on R&D, not on that part of the TRL spectrum, the technology readiness level spectrum, really looking toward the latter part of that scale, making sure that products and services are getting another Edge question that we get a lot of is we've already done everything, we're ready to go, but the submission button is grayed out. What do I do? The first thing is make sure you did complete everything. And the second thing, you've got to make sure that you have a user who's an assigned authorized representative in Edge. So there's a video we've got on this on the website, linked there, a new resource that we've added. But do make sure you check this before going to the help desk. This is likely the issue. We've encountered this with a number of folks, and just clarifying this process step, you've got to have somebody assigned that authorized representative role in order to officially submit the application. I'll move on to kind of role of the lead consortium member. Again, making sure that there is a lead here. We want to make sure that there is a governance structure that's durable. Want to make sure that there is a clear leadership for that governance structure. Being the principal applicant, serving as the main point of contact for us, and being the employer or having a direct relationship with the regional innovation officer, Those are really key parts. Being the key kind of coordinator of the consortium, convening folks in order to facilitate like ongoing cohesiveness, making sure that governance continues, and establishing communication between the different consortium members and EDA. So it really is being the lead of that tech hub. And the regional innovation officer, similar. It's having that individual, single human who's accountable for coordination of the hub around that shared vision, around that shared strategy. So that's really the spirit of the regional innovation officer in that role. I do want to make sure that we've got plenty of time for the demo, and so I'm going to quickly just go on to this slide. So again, 3 things to do now. Read the FAQs. We just went over some of them. Attend this webinar. You've already done that, or you're in the process of doing it right now. And register in Edge. So in the spirit of registering in Edge, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it over to my colleague Leopold, who will walk you through some of how to best use Edge and get registered in that system. Leopold?
Thanks, Eric. Give me a second to share my screen. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. All right, Eric, can you see my slides?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. All right, so today we're going to talk a bit about Edge, but I just want to highlight that if there are questions that you do not have answered by today's training, we encourage you to email us at granthd support@eda.gov and techhubs@eda.gov. We're monitoring the inbox closely, so please email these 2 together and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. We also have a number of reference guides that you can use if you're a bit confused about Edge. These are really helpful. So I've dropped the link here, and we're also going to post these slides later today. So I just wanted to highlight that at the top. Okay, let's get into it. So step 0 before you even do anything in Edge is that the lead applicant will need to register on sam.gov. Quite frankly, the lead applicant already should be registered on sam.gov, given that the application is due in less than a month. We need the lead applicant, and only the lead applicant, as I'll get into later, to have a unique entity identifier in sam.gov, or UEI, in order to register for Edge. So I just want to highlight that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is create an account in Edge. So when you go to our TechHub's Edge homepage, the first thing you're going to want to do is click Login. Once you click Login, rather than logging in, you should click Not a Member. This will take you to our sign up page. So you'll enter your contact information. One thing I want to highlight here is that once you register your organization, others will be able to register as members of your organization. But this should be the first time that you're registering for your organization. This is really important. When you're filling in your organizational information, there's a bit of a difference if you're the lead applicant versus if you are not the lead applicant, you're just a member of the consortium. So if you're the lead applicant, as I just said, you're going to need a UEI, which is a unique entity ID that you get through sam.gov in order to sign up for Edge. Eventually, you are going to need a cage code, which also comes through sam.gov, but this is not needed to sign up for your account. If you are not the lead applicant, you do not need a UEI or a cage code, but you do need your TIN, also known as an EIN, Employer Identification Number or Tax ID number. So if you don't have that number today, I really recommend that you reach out to your organization and determine what your number is so you can sign up for an account. So if you do everything right, you should see this screen after you fill in your information. Registration was successful. Please check your email for instructions to proceed. So just to show you the email I got, if you go to your email, you should be able to click here to set your password and your account will be all set up in Edge. So now that you've created an account in Edge, you should be able to log in. But before you do anything, you're going to need to create your consortium. So in order to create a consortium in Edge, we use the My Associations tab. So if you go to the upper right corner here and you click on this little person icon, you should find the My Associations tab. So click on My Associations. Once you get into associations, you're going to create a new association by clicking Add New Association. And this is really important. When you add a new association, you must create a consortium. A consortium is for Tech Hubs. Coalition is for one of our other grant programs. Recompete, please select consortium when you're creating an association for your Tech Hubs application. Then you'll give your consortium a name, and then you'll hit finish. Now, once you finish, you should see your consortium come up. As you see, I have my Test Tech Hubs consortium. And the first thing you're going to want to do is edit your organization so that you can add your entity type. So go ahead and click on that and then select your entity type here. So now that I've selected my entity type, I'm going to add members of my consortium. Now, one thing I want to highlight here is that when you add members of your consortium, you're not adding them to your application, you're just adding them to your consortium. So we'll get to how to add people to your application later on. This is how you tell us who's in your consortium. So click Add Member Organization. And you're going to use the email that they use to sign up for Edge. So please make sure that they've already signed up for Edge. Enter their email. If for some reason they haven't signed up for Edge, this is the screen that you're going to get. You're going to have to invite them to apply for Edge. So make sure that they've signed up for Edge. If they have signed up for Edge, you should be able to find their organization. So I found my test org 2.0. This was the organization I was looking for, so I say yes, and I click next. Now that I tried to add this organization, they should receive an email that looks like this, and they should click on this link to join the consortium. When they go to join the consortium, they're going to have to select the entity type that they represent. And as you can see, once this is complete, your association will show the member organization, and you should continue doing the steps I just laid out to add the other members of your consortium. So this is how you create a consortium in Edge. Now that you've created your consortium, you're ready to get into the application. So you're going to go back to the home page and you're going to click Funding Opportunities. Then you're going to select Tech Hubs. And then you're going to be asked what you're applying for. So you have to select Strategy Development or Designation. And if you're applying for both, you're going to have to start 2 applications here. So pick one and then do another one. But you're going to have to do 2 separate applications if you're doing both. One thing I just want to note here is you won't be able to get past this step if you haven't created a consortium in My Association. So it's really important that you create that consortium. So you'll name your project. And then once you get into this new project, you're going to want to add members of your application team. Now, your application team, again, is just the individuals who you're working with who need to log into Edge to work directly on these materials. You do not need to add all of your consortium members to your application team. Please add your consortium members in My Association. So when I go to the Application Team tab, I'm going to click Add Team Member. First, I'm going to start by adding members of my team that are from my organization. So I'm going to hit Yes. And then I'm going to select Team Member. I'm going to enter their email address. So if they haven't registered for Edge yet, you're going to enter the email address they will use to set up their Edge account, and this will send them an invite to join your organization. But if they have registered for Edge, you can enter their email and they should pop up. So once you submit to add an application team member, you might get this email, EDA is reviewing the request. We'll do this quickly, and then we'll approve them, and they'll get an email that looks like this. So they should click on this link and join as a team member. Now, we know that some folks are going to add people who are not from their organization to work on the application. So if you're doing this, you can select no here. And then this is really important. You do not add them as a co-applicant. This program does not have co-applicants. We have one lead applicant that is applying on behalf of the consortium, which you created in My Associations. If you need someone to work on your application that's not from your organization with you, you select third-party consultant, no matter who they are. Do not select co-applicant. And then you're going to need their tax ID. This allows us to identify the organization they belong to. If you don't have their tax ID, please reach out to them. And then you should find their organization. Make sure it's the correct one. Here I have a dummy org. And then you'll enter the email of the team member. And there you go. I added a member of my team to work on my application with me. So once you're done adding all of your team members, you need to add an authorized representative. The authorized representative can only be one person, and this one person is the only user in Edge who can submit the application once it's complete. So to do this, you're going to go to Application Team. You'll click Add Team Member. The authorized representative should be from the lead organization, so you'll hit Yes. You'll select Authorized Representative. You'll enter their email. If it's yourself, you can just enter your email that you use to sign up for Edge. And then once complete, you should see an authorized representative pop up. So in this case, I applied as myself. Now I've got two roles on the team. I'm the lead applicant, and I'm also an authorized representative. So now that you've added your team members and your consortium, you can start your application. So you'll go back to this tab, Application Workspace, and you'll click Get Started. Again, you'll see this Add Co-Applicant tab. This is for other EDA programs. Please do not add any co-applicants. Your consortium members should be added in the My Associations tab in the consortium that you created. And with that, I'll stop sharing my screen. As I said at the top, please email us if you have any questions about Edge. We are available to you to help you navigate this system. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Leopold. Really appreciate that. And I just want to emphasize again the importance of getting registered in Edge and getting comfortable with that. The earlier you get in there, the earlier you start some of this process, the more time you've got to engage with our help desk and with the Tech Hubs at EDA.gov team in order to resolve any issues that you might have. I do want to flash up quickly just that contact information so that you've got that right in front of you. So again, techhubs@eda.gov. If you've got any questions, you can go there. You can also visit techhubs.gov. That's the easiest way to get to the eda.gov page that includes all of the resources and links to all of the resources for the Tech Hubs program. Also, I, of course, encourage you to sign up for our newsletter and to follow us on your preferred social media platform. Those are other ways that we get out all of the details as quickly as possible to everybody. I do think that, and I think thanks to my colleagues for getting a number of these questions answered in chat. I will emphasize that we are gonna share the presentation, the slides. So those will be available at techhubs.gov soon. And if you do have any questions that didn't get answered in the chat today, please just send them to techhubs@eda.gov. That's the best way for us to address those questions, particularly if they involve anything that might be specific or narrow. Please go ahead and send those questions to techhubs@eda.gov. With that, again, thank you all. Really appreciate the interest in this program and your engagement on this early and often. Get those applications in as soon as possible before the deadline is better. And please do reach out with any questions you have. Thanks again.